Welcome back to another exciting episode of Entertaining Jeremy. I'm sorry it's been a while since I've updated, but I moved across the country from Las Vegas to Florida, so I'm here in Florida now. Now I'm back in the swing of it. I figured the one thing that would be a good way for me to come back to is talking about Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, or HP7, which was like the abbreviated version, which doesn't really work for me. I mean, it kind of worked for like Independence Day where it was ID4, even though that doesn't really make sense because I never understood what that ID4, it was like Independence 4, but that wasn't the title of the movie, it was Independence Day. Oh, Independence Day, ID, and then 4 being the date, July 4th or something. I don't know. I guess it still doesn't really make sense, but I'm happy that I figured out what ID. And we're talking about Harry Potter here. So let's get back and focus to Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 1. So, watched it last night at midnight. Today is still the day that it came out, so still a brand new movie. I'm sure millions of people have watched it. Not that millions of people watch me, but the tens of people that watch me have probably already seen it. So, I'm going to give you my thoughts on Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 1. I can actually sum up my whole feeling about it in one word. And that one word is meh. Alright, now I know this is where the backlash is going to come. People are going to start being like, what? How can you say meh? Because it was amazing. It's Harry Potter. It's you know, oh, I bleed Hogwarts and Gryffindor and, you know, other things. Here's the thing. Let me set this up for you. I'm what's called a casual fan of Harry Potter. I've read all the books once, and I've seen all the movies about once. But I watch them in midnight showings. Always have, even though my wife's a big nerd. So because of her, we now go watch it. But even before that, I watched it too. So I'm a casual fan. I enjoy it. That's where I'm at. Now, here's the thing with Harry Potter. It starts out really cool, real just kind of dramatic and dark and like somber, and you know, and you get the feel of like, oh, okay, I kind of see where this movie's going, because I haven't read the book since it came out, so I don't really remember a lot of things. And then, you know, Harry gets turned into the 7 Harrys, and you're like, okay, there's kind of a funny little joke there. And then they go, and then someone dies off camera. Now, I understand in the book it happens too. I don't want to ruin it in case there's one person out there who hasn't read the book or hasn't seen the movie yet. But there's something, I don't know, that kind of works in a book form to be like, oh, this person died. But in a movie, it was just like, oh, this person died. And, okay, I need to ruin something. Hedwig dies, or Hedwig, I don't know how you say his name, but the owl. In the book, I remember being like shocked because, you know, he was the first death, and you're like, no! You know, but in the movie, he was just like, Hedwig! And then kind of went on with the rest of his life. And I was just like, you know what? I mean, I understand. You know, in the movies, they didn't really portray Hedwig that much, but I have 2 pets, Giles and Dean. If I watched one of them just get murdered, especially because it was trying to save my life, I wouldn't be like, Giles! See ya. You know, I would be like, no! And then probably be like cussing and, you know, Jar! But that's just me. I guess I'm better than Harry Potter. And then we move on to where we are, you know, we've talked about the Horcruxes in the previous film, which I hope you watched it because they don't explain what Horcruxes are in this film. So hopefully you know what they are. But if you don't know, they're bits and pieces of Voldemort's soul, and they have to destroy all of them, thus making Voldemort like mortal, and you can kill him. Okay. So I was going to explain what the Deathly Hallows was, but you don't really find that out yet till later, so we'll explain that later. So it's a race against time. Okay, let me explain it. So the Deathly Hallows, there's 3 things that if you get all 3 of them, you have control over death. So that's what Voldemort's after. Harry Potter's after the Deathly Hallows. I mean, the Horcruxes. So, I watched an interview with Daniel Radcliffe, a.k.a. Harry Potter, and he described it as a race for time, you know, with the forces of good versus the forces of evil. Now, that sounds like a cool movie. This movie was not a race for time. It was the entire movie, they had 1 Horcrux, which was a really stressful scene, but then they got it, couldn't figure out how to beat it, and then they just traveled the world, camp to camp, got haircuts, seasons changed. And this is when I started like doing this in my seat, because then the movie just kind of drags on. I think Ron says it best when he eventually leaves because he gets really frustrated, and he says, "Oh, I just thought by now we would have done more, and I thought we would have accomplished more, and I thought we would have done more." And I was like, "Preach it, brother," because I thought by this point in the movie also more things were gonna happen. No. This movie was kind of like watching Lord of the Rings, which I know lots of people are like, "I love Lord of the Rings." I'm not one of those people. I like Lord of the Rings. Yeah. I like the fight scenes of Lord of the Rings. Let's be real. But you know, granted, there's millions of fans of Lord of the Rings. Okay, so this movie felt like watching Lord of the Rings, but only watching Sam and Frodo. Now, for those people that love Lord of the Rings, if you took out Legolas and Gimli and Aragorn and then the other two gay people, would you still like that movie? Probably not, because it's really just them walking around with a thing on their neck that makes it heavy and makes them feel angry and stuff. Hey, that happens in Harry Potter. The Horcrux is a necklace, and it weighs down on me, and it makes me so angry, and then they're like, take it off, and then they take it off and share, which, you know, I guess Frodo should have done that, which probably would have made him not so crazy, but it's pretty much just watching Sam and Harry and Hermione walk around for like 2 hours or something. I don't know. I mean, I walked out of the movie like, that's kind of boring. You know, I didn't want to say it too loudly because there was a lot of, you know, Harry Potter fans. But, you know, I will say, every time I've left Harry Potter before, there was always like the bubbling excitement of people being like, Harry Potter! This one, everyone was just like, time to go home. So, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if you think this Harry Potter just blows, you know, the wands off of all the other Harry Potters, or if it's at least, well, it's better than this one. Because, I mean, honestly, I'd rather watch just about any other of the Harry Potters than this one. I'd rather play the Harry Potter Lego Adventure video game than watch this one, which I've played once, and I got stuck in a part, and I couldn't figure out how to beat it. I would rather try to figure out how to beat that part than watch this movie again. Now, that's not to say I'm not excited for the second film, because part 2, I think, is just going to be balls to the wall, like, awesome, crazy action. This movie felt like, we have a lot of boring stuff, and then we have a lot of action. Ooh, I know. Let's get rid of all the boring stuff and put it in one movie, because everyone in the world's going to watch it anyway. And then we'll save the cool action stuff for the finale. Instead of just making it like one movie, you know, which would have been a lot more like Lord of the Rings, because then there's some really boring parts, but then you would have gotten some cool action stuff kind of, you know, mixed in with it. But instead it was just, let's make a really boring film about character development, because by the 7th film, we still need more character development, and we need 2.5 hours of just character. Nothing else really advancing the plot that much further. Yeah. Dude, I knew who the characters were by the end of the first 4-hour-long movie. So I don't need 2.5 hours of, like, let's just look at what happens. And like, yeah, but it's dark and it's hard. So are the last 2 films. So, I don't know. This movie, to me, was meh. It was good. It had some good parts. But overall, I found myself shifting a lot. And if you don't know, when I shift a lot, that's bad in movies. Because that means my butt gets bored. And then when my butt gets bored, I get bored. So this was a multi-shifter for me. So that's how I feel about it. So there's my thoughts on Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 1. Join me again. Next time we'll talk about probably The Walking Dead, which is awesome. I forgot to mention what I thought was the best part of the whole movie. So, I know you thought you were almost done and like, whew, no more Jeremy. So, 2 more seconds. Okay, the best part of the whole movie, you get to see a little bit of naked Hermione, which is awesome because she's hot. Is she 18? Can I say that? I think she's 18. She's like 19. I could totally say that. Hot. Okay, bye.